Hey guys, it's Stanky here again. I decided to do a replay review of this Invoker game by Miracle. I watched it on Noob from UA's channel and I saw some stuff that he was doing which I thought was really cool that not everyone might have noticed or that I hadn't really thought about doing before, so I thought I'd review the game. So the first thing he does, which is pretty cool, which a lot of good invokers will do, is get Sunstrike and cast it on their base and then check their items. So he'll click through each area and sort of see what they have, see if they have wards. You can sort of get information on what what lanes they might be going in, whether they have sentries, how much regen they have, that sort of thing. You might even be able to see what lanes they're heading towards or what rune. So here is the initial rune pickup. He sees there's 4 heroes coming and his Bane's out of position, and when you're 8.6k MMR, you're generally going to be playing with players on your team that are worse than the opposing team, which is also probably going to be true if you're trying to climb MMR as well. You've got to assume that you're the better player on your team. So here, I mean, they're out of position. There with these heroes, you want to be looking for a sleep into an arrow with Bane bottom, but they weren't doing any of that. And also he realizes he's outmatched and just gets the hell out. I see too many people lose too much health or take fights they shouldn't be taking at rune fights and sort of overvaluing the starting rune gold and experience. So he just backs off into lane. His starting items are pretty standard. You get only got 1 Shed Tango, but the Fairy Fire, a Null, and a Branch. So he's got a reasonably easy lane here against a Magnus, a melee hero, and he's Invoker, so he's going to have the regen from Quas to regen any shockwave damage that he can't stop. He got a good block off, which is really important, and in here, instead of just sort of harassing from the high ground, he actually chooses to pull the creeps towards him up the top of the hill. So if the Magnus wants to actually come deny these, he's going to take damage, so he starts, harassing him. And he's keeping an eye on kills over there, gets a quick Sunstrike kill. Very important to try to keep an eye on what's going on the map around you, but you see here he's just going to keep bullying the Magnus. If he chooses to sit here around the creeps, he's just going to get hit over and over and over again. So switches to Quas to regen when he doesn't need it, and switching back to Exort. This is something that you should be doing if you're playing Invoker at a high level. Don't just sit on whatever orbs you cast your last spell on, or just sit on Exort all the time. In between last hits, you should be switching to Quas to get max regen in, and then switching back to Exort to get your last hits. Obviously it's not important if you haven't taken damage, but he didn't go for the Sunstrike here. I guess he's saving it. I think this part's kind of notable. At 2 minutes he actually chooses to go for the rune here, even though there's creeps in the lane. But there is a minimal amount of his creeps, so he gets that last kill and then he runs straight up. He gets the Sunstrike kill here as well, but what I find more interesting is that he actually chooses to go for the rune at 2 minutes. Not a lot of because Invokers don't go bottle, it's quite often that they'll just sit in the lane and the supports or enemy team or will end up the other mid will end up getting the rune while you sort of either push the tower or deny their creeps and punish them for the time they left and spent leaving the lane. But you're also taking the gamble that you're going to get like a double damage or illusions or something that's really going to help you in the laning phase. So if you can get the rune with missing minimal creeps, I think it's still worth it. This is quite a cool play. He went for the Sunstrike but didn't quite throw it far back enough. So he purposefully let himself get skewered and then wanted to Sunstrike on top of the skewer location, but he knew that even if the guy tries to fight him after the skewer, that he still isn't going to be able to kill him, and he has a Fairy Fire as well, so that's just about knowing your damage potential. So now, I don't know if this is a replay bug or if this is something that actually happened in game, but you can see a Doom appear on the map, the minimap here, briefly. When he walks past and gets vision down this line, he sees the Doom a little bit, so I don't know if he saw that and that's why he backed up, or if he's had missing calls from the team or what, but he's positioning himself on the left hand side of this lane so that if the Doom does come in to gank from this direction, he can either run up or he's further away from him to get across. But he decides to run straight back, and he may again not have seen him, but invoking Ice Wall is the key here, and then getting straight onto max Quas regen for the health regeneration and slowing them down from chasing him under tower with Ice Wall. And he's got Cold Snap if they really decide to die, if he can turn and kill them under the tower. Something also I forgot to mention is that he went the early Bassi ring. He went it before the Boots of Speed, and that's something that I quite like to do on Invoker as well. It's especially useful when you have your Forged Spirits, because you're looking to push early, like be able to take towers, especially against a Magnus. You should be able to bully him out of lane reasonably soon, and then you can, or he might go rotating at level 6 and you can take the mid tower, and Bassi really helps you do that. Some people have actually even been going Aquila, even though he's not an agility hero, but just to help with pushing and to counteract some of the agility that he lost in the recent nerf. So again here he goes for the 4-minute rune when there's still creeps in the that are available, and he picks up a haste rune, so it doesn't actually end up doing a lot for him, but it does prevent the enemy team getting it and ganking him, or prevent the Magnus getting it and getting free bottle refills and more mana to spam him with. So he seems to value that, getting those runes, especially the top one, quite heavily, because it's a longer walk to bottom. He gets juked on the Sunstrike kill, but that's sort of something you can call out as an enemy mid as well, as you can see when your Invoker's standing still, like not paying attention to the lane, like you can call out that he's Sunstriking, that sort of thing. Just if you're playing mid, it's a handy tip. This bit's pretty cool as well. A Bat Rider comes in to gank him, and he gets a Dazzle TP and actually manages to kill the Bat Rider before he dies. So there's a few things he does here which are pretty key to that happening. He sees him here, he tries to get away to the left, he's trying not to turn too much because of the slowed turn time. Runs back in towards the Dazzle so he can get his spells off. Keeps him under the tower, waits till the tower's picked its target, and then goes for him. I'm pretty sure if the tower had been going for the Magnus, he would have cold snap the Magnus. You want to be using that proc to maximum effectiveness. And sorry, my TV just turned on or something. And yeah, he switched to Exort actually to get those last hits, and even though he was going to die, he managed to kill the bat before he did. So this is another one of those situations that I talked about in my Dissecting Arteezy video, where they'll choose to fight in situations where I think other people would just try to run. So here he gets RP'd, Doom's not level 6, I don't think, so he doesn't have Doom, but he gets skewered back, and instantly he realizes that he's not going to live here, so he's going to try to go for the kill. Goes for the Sunstrike on him, but he misses it, but he just starts fighting this Magnus. So he could be running here and the Doom would just chase him down and kill him, and they'd get blown up with a shockwave, but he can use his damage in his wand to try to go for this kill on the Magnus, and I'm pretty sure he's going to die. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes if you're going to go down, you may as well go down swinging. So this is a fairly interesting little gank that goes on here. The Bane comes in and gets a sleep off on the Magnus, and he uses that to set up his Sunstrike, and then I think he cold snaps him. Yeah, cold snaps and starts attacking. The Void goes to jump, but he manages to get his skewer off and skewers the Void back under the tower. If they had been attacking him, he would have been able to get it off because of the cold snap procs, but here he actually chooses to back off. So he sees the Bane that's on a half health and mana. He's hoping the Void is going to get this Magnus kill, I think. What he probably could have done is run his if he didn't want to commit himself, which I think he could have done, he could have gone and got the Magnus kill. He could have sent his Forged Spirit up to get the kill, but he chose to back off because he saw, what he thought was a bad fight, which I do agree with. I think you probably died a bat there, and bat and Doom if you get in too close with your hero, but I think that's an opportunity to use your Forged Spirit. So now that he can farm quickly with double Forged Spirits in his Bassi ring, he's pushing out the wave, but pretty much most of the heroes are missing, so it's quite dangerous to be pushing too far up into these towers. So he's using this time to, well, he goes back and gets his Midas from his courier as soon as he can and uses it straight away to actually collects it right next to the big camp so he can instantly use it on a big creep. But he's pushing out the mid lane and then farming these camps, and then pushing out the mid lane, and then he goes to farm Ancients in a second as well. So maximizing both the creep farm in the lane and farming the neutral camps as well. And as you notice, it's 12 minutes and he still hasn't actually left the mid lane. He's just playing aggressively but still safe, and as safe as he can, and farming as much as possible, and keeping this mid lane pushed in commits a hero to staying mid, so they can't get around the map too much and sort of put pressure on other lanes. It's sort of tying these heroes down to the mid lane, which actually does give opportunities to your side lanes. So here he's farming the Ancients and notices that they're rushing, or his team does. with an arrow scout, and it actually they make an interesting decision. They choose, I'm not sure who, but they choose not to go defend this Roche. So I don't know whether it's just because the Void didn't have TP on cooldown or something, or if because they evaluated that, no he does, that their team isn't strong enough to fight them right at the moment. So their team fight's pretty terrifying with like Undying, Batrider, RP, Doom Ulti, Huskar in general. Like they have a pretty scary team. And he just goes for the Sunstrike harass and takes the top tower. So this is, you know, minimizing his opportunity to die, as he's the highest net worth hero, right? So he doesn't want to be giving away this net worth lead that he's gotten by taking potentially dangerous fights, and they've decided that giving up the Roche and sort of trading that for a top tower and some map control is worth it. I think that's made even more evident just here when he actually doesn't have a TP scroll on him, but he could get one from the side shot. But they're pushing middle, taking team fights against his team, and he's just using this time to split push top. So he really doesn't want to be taking team fights at the moment. He wants to just be trading. If they get a T2, he wants to be trading that for his T2 top, and not fighting into their death ball. He actually hangs around for quite a while after they start TPing in here, which is pretty dangerous. I think I remember this bit from the video as well. He turns and kills with Batrider, and then TP's out after RP because they don't have any stuns left, so pretty baller play. So I'm sort of noticing a theme here. You know, me suggesting that he doesn't want to take team fights is quite evident by his item choice. So he's gone for Boots of Travel over like a Blink or a Yules or something like that, and he's shoving out this top wave, pushing it with his Forged Spirits, and then using his Travs to go TP bottom and pushing out the bottom wave. So he's trying to split the map, pressure the lanes, typical stuff, but not always done very effectively in pub games. A quick example of map awareness, so he's sending his courier back and he sees the Batrider pop up on the map, so he just quickly drops his Chaos Meteor and TPs straight out before the Batrider can kill him. So in this time where he's just basically been split pushing bottom, split pushing top, pushing mid a little bit, throwing his creeps into towers, they've taken a top T2 and they've taken a bottom T1, and he's farmed the Ancient Camps and creep camps a little bit without dying. So he's just been pushing his GPM, pushing lanes as much as he can, and he's managed to farm himself an Ags and a Blink, along with having his Midas to help along with that farming speed. But that's some pretty quick farming, and shows you what you can do if you don't spend your time chasing kills and dying a couple of times. He's still avoiding team fights, so he is he doesn't have Travs up here, so he's just TP top, so he can't join the fight, but throwing out assisting Sunstrikes and pushing hard. So this is a pretty awesome play that I'm pretty sure I'd never make. So here he's pushing the top tower while they're pushing mid. He's using Sunstrike either to go for damage or to scout. There's these TPs coming back in from the Batrider and the Magnus, and it's the Magnus, the Batrider and the Undying, sorry. So Magnus and Huskar, he both sees them on the map here, so he knows these two are safe, and he goes for a Blink back in. But what he actually does first is he leaves his Forged Spirits there, and they just think, oh yeah, they're just pushing, I'll go kill the Forged Spirits. But he starts his Forged Spirits attacking the Bat, and then he goes for him while the Forged Spirits are already attacking, so they're going to get like quick and fast procs of Cold Snap off. And actually manages to get a double kill here because he knows once he kills the Batrider, there's nothing to actually slow or disable him, so even if the Undying tries to kill him, he can just run out and Ghost Walk. But it's these kind of aggressive plays and knowing when you can punish people, I think, that are really the big difference between the top players and people that are good. So here he actually makes a bit of a mistake, but I think we can learn from it. From the principle of what he was trying to do. So he sees this fight here, the Huskar's sort of positioned to the front of it, but he doesn't really want to be going on him. What he's trying to do is flank around the side here and hit these backup heroes. So if you can get an EMP off on any of the other 4 heroes, it's huge. If you can stop, it stops RP, it stops Doom, it stops Bad Hold, it stops Tombstone. So he already gets Tombstone off, but it's these heroes are all very mana dependent, and none of them are intelligence heroes. So if you get their mana pools are quite low, so he's trying to get the Tornado on the Doom and on the Undying, but he misses it. But he goes for the full combo here with EMP and Meatball, and then goes for the Deafening Blast, but actually misses it on the Undying because he's trying to hit multiple heroes, so it doesn't kill the Undying. And not specifically that, but just because he missed the Doom as well, it ends up punishing him. The Magnus comes in here with a big RP in a second. Batrider sets it up, and they get wiped. But I think knowing, you know, the concept of picking off the back heroes and recognizing who's worth going on, like tornadoing and EMPing the Husker isn't really worth it there, and your team's already fighting him. You want to be looking for the backline. So this must be a reasonably typical 8k situation, but he's just respawned as the only one alive, their whole team's alive, and they're pushing your base and you're by yourself trying to solo defend. So they're pushing in top pretty hard, but instead of going up here and trying to EMP tornado and like trying to slow down their push, what he does is goes and looks for a pick on the Magnus here, and watch what that does. Even though he doesn't actually kill him, it draws all their heroes off the top lane. They all come running over to try to take this fight, and they actually forget their objective. If they just spent this 20 seconds focusing on pushing this tower, they would have got the tower down at least, but they didn't. He was just killing time, Ghost Walk, Blinks, using his spells, pissing around with them. He doesn't go commit here, but he uses Alacrity on one of his Forge Spirits and sends it in to harass. And then he smokes up with his team and looks for a pick-off, you know, as they go to retreat. Doesn't work out, but yeah. So this is just a bit where he manages to play safe and stay alive for it. I think this is a replay bug where the bat shows up here. I'm not really sure why he does. But I think he has no information on the bat, so all he sees is this Wildkin. But I mean, that's kind of a tip-off that they might be coming down to push with that. But also there's just nobody on the map, and there's all the heroes are alive. So they've seen him bottom pushing that wave, so it's quite likely they're going to come look for him. So he hides in the trees, and at the same time as he comes into Meteor and then go away by the looks of it, the bat comes in, so he just blinks out and walks away. So it might not look like it's very far from the tower, and it might seem like a safe place to farm, but it's very vulnerable to... I can't draw. Very vulnerable to ganks from your jungle. So he actually pushes quite deep, like further than I would think to a lot of the time. So he sees the bat right in the middle, I guess, which is why he feels quite safe, but there's still, I think, actually like Dooms and Magnuses and stuff. I mean, he has Lincolns, so he can't get Doomed if that's the only spell, but like he blinks aggressively into the tower there once the backdoor protection is broken to try to get that tower down. And actually like tornadoes and EMPs before he even invokes Ghost Walk. So he plays quite aggressive, knowing that the Bat Rider's not there, which is notable, and you know, really draws them in to come and defend this wave. So making them respond to his map movements rather than them getting to dictate the flow of the game. So he makes a bit of a mistake here. Everybody's human, but he's actually a Ghost Walk still, I think, at this point. He's trying to make a decision whether to keep pushing or go back to defend. He TP's back to defend, but he does it in plain sight, and he gets TP cancelled here by the Magnus. And then he goes for this fight. I reckon he probably should have tornadoed here first, but I mean he's the pro, but I would have tornadoed and then come in and blink, you know, blinked in after the tornado and then cold snap Forge Spirit and all that sort of stuff. But he sort of does it in a funny order, which sort of lets him get away, you know, tornadoing while you're there, and then you can't actually hit him. Is the difference I see in that play. And then he goes for these attacks and he doesn't quite get his Alacrity off. I would have probably gone for Forge Spirits over Alacrity, but you know, you don't always know how the fight's going to go. But even if you get ulted, the Forge Spirits can still be attacking. And he gets picked off here, but he does kill the Bat Rider. And the rest of his team, I think, could manage to repel this push. So he actually uses his Chaos Meteor a lot to push waves when he's not expecting to be taking a team fight. It's very efficient at clearing waves, and this is just an example of where he makes this aggressive push, but without actually having any information on where the heroes are. So he gets picked off by Bat and Doom, and they break his Lincolns and Doom him. So there's another mistake, I guess, but it's the price you pay for being aggressive with your pushes at times. A little team fight here, which there wasn't really too much to say about. I didn't see anything particular that I wanted to note, but I thought this is quite cool. I do this a little bit on Invoker as well, but he had a hero that was retreating this way, so he throws his tornado this way for vision and throws a Sunstrike this way for vision on the two sort of paths he thought that the hero might run. So something you can use to your advantage when you're playing Invoker. It's after the fight defending their base, and they've pushed out quite quickly. He's picked up an Octarine Core, and I didn't mention, but he's got a Lincoln's because he's against a Bat Rider and a Doom, so he uses this meatball to Chaos Meteor to push out the mid lane and then go straight for top. And instead of killing this wave, he goes blink straight in here and starts attacking the melee wave, the melee racks, because the backdoor protection is broken by these creeps. The rest of his team's attacking middle. Just thought it was kind of noteworthy that he skipped the creep wave there and then just started going straight for the racks to get them to, I guess, pop there. Pop their fortification early. He uses zoning EMPs. He used zoning EMP in this fight as well. Sometimes it's just like if you're expecting them to be coming for you, it sort of dissuades them from coming into the fight if there's an EMP about to pop. So this is right after the last clip. There was a team fight happened in mid that was pretty bad, and he already had a lot of teammates dead and his void got doomed, so there's no point in him hanging around. He chucks out an EMP tornado to try to no, not even the EMP, to try to protect his team, and he TPs straight away bottom because they're going to start barreling down mid lane, so he wants to be getting bot lane and pushing this lane out as fast as he can, which he does with that. He apparently goes and farms the jungle, but he is basically wanting to get this bottom lane pushed as fast as he can. So he's using tornado, all that sort of stuff, because he's not going to be going back to try to fight 1v5. He's got to try to draw their attention bottom and punish them for this push they're about to do by pushing himself. So the Magnus has gone back to defend, so now it's and they've had a couple of heroes buy back, so now it's a 4v4 fight, so he actually does TP back to join the fight. He goes for the tornado EMP and an ice wall, which is kind of weird because you think he's just going to ulti out of it, out of the ice wall, but they actually managed to kite him, so it works out. On the wrong unit. Sunstrike goes through BKB. I don't think BKB is one off, but it's notable to use in fights. Especially on these heroes with high magic resist, you can use the pure damage from Sunstrike to burst through a Huskar when he's low health. And he goes back to base here to heal up because he has bugger all health left. Blinks him with a straight EMP, I guess, to just zone them away from the racks, but now he's sort of split the fight in two and he can chase these ones down. What's he go for here? Just a different blast. So he managed to escape on low health, refresh his spells, get back in the fight and continue it. So this is another scenario where he plays aggressively where other people might not. So he sees the Bat Rider here on his ward, but he's sort of waiting to blink out when the Bat gets closer, keeping an eye on him, but he gets RP'd from the invisible Magnus, and they engage on him, but they pop his link-ins. The Bat actually still has his ulti up. I'm not sure if he thought it was down or not, but anyway, he decides, sits all of his RPs down, there's no follow-up, the rest of the team's dead, that he can just engage here, blinks aggressively, uses his Deafening Blast to stop the Bat getting his ulti off, and then he kills the Magnus with Tornado, and then backs out of the fire so he doesn't die. His team comes in, they've managed to come across to support by that point, but it's pushing your advantage when you have it. So this is quite cool. He gets the bottom tower by putting his Forge Spirits on it and using Alacrity on the Forge Spirit. I'm not sure if it's actually better to use Alacrity on the wagon or the Forge Spirit, but the wagon was very close to dying. And then he's just throwing out tornadoes, EMPs, a bunch of zoning spells to keep them from killing his Forge Spirits while they take the tower. And he actually gets Deafening Blast here and Deafening Blasts the Huskar off his creeps and gets out and gets the bottom tower with minimal risk. So here he's playing very objective focused. They're pushing down the mid lane, the enemy team, and he's sent his Forge Spirits through middle to pressure this range racks. And he has gone in and Ghost Walk into their base to take out the other range racks, where he waits for the creeps to break their backdoor protection, and also waits for them to show middle so that he knows it's relatively safe. If they show here and it's not here, that can quickly get to him, or if they show middle, then he's free to just take this tower. So he sees a few of them on the map, and he just pops Alacrity, I think, and Forge Spirits, and just takes this. Tries to take this Rex out, but they glyph it, which at least pops glyph, which is quite important when you're in this sort of stage of the game. So here he makes a mistake. If you watch it from the Bad Rider's perspective, I mean, potentially he's not expecting people to be up here, but what he does is pushes out this middle wave, but then moves up into the jungle here while still in vision of the creeps, so he sort of telegraphs the direction he's running. See just there? To the Bat and the Magnus, so they're picking him out, and he goes into Firefly and they get a pick off on him. Pop his RP, Lasso. Wow, he baited RP Doom and Lasso though, so hashtag. So in this sequence, he sees that there's 4 heroes top, killing this bottom. I think he checks a couple of them for TPs, and he sees the Huskar. He's checking items. Sees the Huskar bottom, and I would see that and go, nah, it's way too hard to kill the Huskar. I'm not going to bother, but he's like, nah, straight up mans up, TPs in, goes for a tornado. I'm surprised he doesn't Sunstrike. I guess it's because they're invoked in the wrong order, so when he makes the next spell, it gets rid of Sunstrike. Otherwise he could have used both there if he was more prepared. Could have Sunstriked, EMP'd. But what he does here is quite cool. He uses this to pop his Lincolns, and then he backs off. He waits for him to hit him, and then Deafening Blasts, because if he uses it beforehand, I think it won't break his ultimate. But also this, like, or if he blinks, it will follow you through blink. So you have to, it's more efficient. It's better to let him hit you and then do it. Blink dodges him there. It's just trying to kite him around because his ultimate's on cooldown. Drops Ice Wall, Magnus shows up, so he's managed to cross the map in a small amount of time, and he quickly invokes his Ghost Walk before the RP, which is really important, so that allows him to escape. So I quite enjoyed this play. It's something I noticed in that video I was talking about at the start, but he gets doomed in this fight after he gets a few spells off, and he just manages to run back to base. He drops his Scythe and picks up the Refresher. I thought maybe you could have dropped the Boots of Travel, potentially. But I mean, movement speed's pretty important too, because then you could get double Scythe off with the Refresher. But he's going for his combo, and what he actually does here is, which is something I never really thought of doing, but he invokes Deafening Blast to check his cooldown. So he knows that, because I don't know if you guys do as well, but sometimes I'll go halfway through my combo and realize that, oh shit, my Meteor or my Deafening Blast is still on cooldown, and then you're kind of stuffed. So if you've got Ags, it's very easy. If you've got a bit of time in your base, you can check the spell cooldowns on your other spells. Make sure that you have everything up when you go to do your Tornado EMP. So now your Tornadoes from a distance, and then it's just the standard combo. Drops, instantly invokes the Chaos Meteor, drops both of them, invokes Deafening Blast, drops that, refreshes, drops the Meteor, drops another Deafening Blast, and then he drops another EMP, and then does he blink out? No, Ice Wall. And now he goes back to base, and I think he drops his Refresher here, and he picks up his Hex, and then he gets back into the fight again. He actually wastes the, oh no, he uses the, he knows he has Lincolns, so he uses Cold Snap to proc the Lincolns, and then hexes him. Because obviously you'd rather hex someone than Cold Snap them. And successfully manages to defend his throne. So I think this is some pretty next level shit. I might be wrong, but he sees the Doom, gets Hex off, starts fighting him, and then he actually invokes Ghost Wall and casts it. Maybe out of suspicion that Magnus was coming, because he was Shadow Bladed. I don't know how he knew to do that. Maybe he was just planning to Ghost Walk so that he didn't get doomed. But after he came out of Hex, Doom does have a gem though, so the plan doesn't work out that well for him. He actually manages to kill the Magnus. Sits up Ice Wall ready for when the Doom wakes up. Doom's already down because he blew it on Lincolns, because he's not very smart, and then proceeds to kill him with the rest of his team. But yeah, I thought that Ghost Walk was pretty insane timing, but turns out it wasn't the best play because he had a gem. I do notice that in a lot of these offensive base fights where he's in the enemy's base, he's very focused on buildings, so he manages, Glyph's not actually going here yet, but he comes in, starts attacking the buildings, they pop Glyph, and then he backs off rather than using their time to go looking for fights. He lets his team do that, Void goes on someone, he helps out with the guy in Chrono, he drops a Sunstrike and hits him a couple of times, but then he's straight back to buildings. He's not, well, he runs into Chrono. He's not mucking around diving stuff, because if you get this, it's pretty much game. If you can get Mega Creeps there, make them come to you, don't go diving their T4s. You're also getting closer to the area where they heal, so if you send an Undying back, and he heals, and then has to come back over here to fight, rather than all the way back here to fight, it's a lot harder for them to get back. So he gets both the buildings, and then he goes back in to continue his fighting. So their team's pretty terrifying to fight into, right? Like, I mean, Bat has a refresher, so he's got double BKB, double Lasso. Doom has a refresher, he's got double Doom, double Shivas. Magnus has a refresher, so he's got double RP. They have some pretty huge team fight spells, and they managed to get a push down their base and actually get some pickoffs on the team here. And he's just been playing very safely in the meantime. Like, he TP'd out of here after they had all their buildings down to not risk dying, because he knows they can just barrel down mid and take the throne if they all die. But he's just been trying to defend and let these waves push in and start doing some damage to their base, stalling for time, but now it's go time because the enemy are in his base. So let's see what he does. He's keeping an eye on what's happening in their base, and he's got his blink still. He's ditched the Hex yet again. Still don't really understand why you don't keep the Hex and ditch the travels, but sort of muffs the meteor a little bit. Oh, not too bad. It's gonna hit the Undying. He actually doesn't use his first Deafening Blast, I don't think. And I used it straight away. It uses both, refreshes, uses both again. A little bit odd of a combo. Normally, I think his Tornado and EMP must have been down, so maybe he had to do it in this sort of order. But getting that big AoE Deafening Blast off on everybody means you're completely delaying their damage to the tower by disarming them. And then you go straight for the buyback, as quick as you can, and back into it again, trying to delay them while the base is forward. And they win. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Come check out my stream if you want to see some more from me, or just keep an eye out for more of my videos here. Thanks. Bye.